let's have a look at the Tops Tac-Raze. This here is a rather interesting knife by design. But before we look at the knife, let's have a look at the sheath. So this comes with this leather sheath, which I have to say looks very nice. It's a little bit squint if you have a look at it, depending on how you look at it. I don't think that matters all too much. It does seem to be very well made. The leather is fairly thick as well, and it seems sturdy enough. It's stitched, not riveted. I would imagine it's also glued, and it can sit on the belt in two ways. Of course, the belt can go through this loop here, or you could have it sitting this way if you wish, so that way or that way. Now, I don't think this would be very practical to carry this knife in the sheath, or at all actually, because if this is sitting on your belt like this, let me see if I could raise the camera up, you're going to have all that sticking up, poking you in the side, and that's not going to be any fun, especially when you sit down. Perhaps if you have it on the back of your belt like this, then maybe it'd be okay to carry, but in my opinion this would be too easy for people to see. So number one, people who don't like knives, and that's most people unfortunately, could get scared, and number two, someone may see that as an opportunity to steal it. And this is one of those knives where you would be upset if someone stole it, because this knife costs £105. So that's probably just as bad as someone getting away with your wallet. So there's that. Anyway, moving on from the sheath. Oh, by the way, it does have the Tops logo stamped into it. But yeah, as I said, this is a Tops Tac-Raze. I think this is G10 for the handles. It's an interesting pattern. I'm not really sure what you would call that. It's got a fairly thick handle. Doesn't have any sort of spine or anything to it. It just has these spacers. Seems well centered. Centering isn't something that bothers me all too much, but considering the price of this knife, I would expect it to be bang on center. It's got a sort of, what would you call that, stonewash finish to it, and as you can see here, it is a friction folder. This is a UK legal carry knife because it is a friction folder, and the cutting edge is under the inches. We'll just have it measured up here quickly. You can see there the cutting edge is less than 3 inches. While we're at it, let's have a look at the overall overall length. We're looking at about 8 inches. Is that in camera? About 8 inches. And let's look at how thick it is. Well, I usually don't do that, but this is a pretty thick knife. It's about half an inch thick. I'm not very good at measuring with inches. Let's see what we have in centimeters. About under about under 1.5 centimeters, not quite. So as I said, it's a friction folder, and we've got a sort of, I don't even know what to call this blade shape, honestly. Kind of a drop point. I mean, we've got two edges here. I mean, we've got the main edge here, I would say, and then this is a sort of tanto drop point, I suppose. Now the name is Tac-Raze. I'm assuming that means tactical razor. I mean, if you have a look at it, this thing is clearly inspired by the traditional cutthroat razor, straight razor, shivet, however you want to call it. If you don't know what that is, I'm talking about one of these. This is a cutthroat razor, straight razor, and I'm sure you could see the resemblance here. So these have been around for, I don't know, 300 years or so. This one's actually pretty bad. It's very difficult to get an edge on this. It's badly made. Anyway, so you can see that it's inspired by a traditional cutthroat shaving razor. As I said, it's a friction folder. I'm just going to compare it to the Sport Peasant because this is a fairly well-known knife. So smaller than the, well, this is actually the Mini Peasant. So it's a bit, the Mini Peasant's quite a bit smaller, and certainly a bit lighter. Here I've got a Japanese friction folder. How do you pronounce this? Kino Hinakami? I don't know, I probably butchered that. but there it is for comparison, because these are also very popular knives. Both of these are a lot cheaper. I mean, you can get a Kino High for about £17. Same with the Sport Peasant, but this thing's £105, so kind of expensive. Feels okayish in the hand. By the looks of it, you're supposed to sort of hold it like this to prevent the blade closing on your finger. You're not going to get cut that way, and there is enough of a tang that you could hold it down enough. Now, what is this knife good for? I hate to say it, but in my opinion, nothing. Oh, by the way, before I took up the grind, it feels and kind of looks like a hollow grind, but I can't be 100% certain on that. Let's see if we can get the camera to focus. Nope, doesn't want to focus. But I think that's a hollow grind. But yeah, what's this knife good for? I honestly can't find any use for this. I mean, I wouldn't want to use this as a hard use knife, not the price I paid for it. It is an interesting knife. To me, it's more of a curiosity. I mean, I can't really, I don't know. I mean, maybe for opening boxes and stuff, but £105 for just a box opener to me is a bit steep. I'm sorry, but I failed to find a good use for this knife. Is there a place for this knife? Yeah, I think so. To me, it's an interesting cabinet piece anyway. You're certainly not going to use it for a fruit knife. I mean, it's a bit thick for that, and well, it'll be awkward cutting fruit with this. It's not any good for whittling or woodworking. I mean, maybe you could, but it certainly wouldn't be my first choice for that. I wouldn't take this as a camping knife. I honestly struggle to find a place for this knife, which is funny because most knives I could see a use for them. This is one of those rare occasions, one of those rare knives where I don't know what to do with it. I did say it's inspired by the straight razor, which is for shaving. Could you use this to shave? Probably wouldn't do that. It's certainly not designed for that, and I mean, with this edge here, I would suggest that you're likely to slice your face with it. Does it come sharp? Yeah, sharp enough. Could you cut hair with it? I'd say so. Hair on your arm, yeah. Hair on your face, not so much. And it's the wrong angle for shaving anyway. I believe that the angles for a cutthroat razor, they're pretty steep angles. I don't know what sort of angle these are supposed to be sharpened at, but it's steep. Is it a good knife? Yeah, I'd say so. Is it well made? I think so. Is it worth the money? Well, I don't know. I mean, to me, most knives made by Tops look a bit expensive for what they are. Some of the knives by Tops, I really wonder how they justify the price tag. Is it the steel? I don't know. I couldn't even tell you what kind of steel it is. I don't buy knives for the steel. I know that matters to a lot of people. For me, not so much. I like to buy it for the look. Mostly the look of the knife, actually. I don't really bother too much about the steel. For me, a big factor is, can I legally carry it? This one I can, and it's made by Tops, and this is the only knife made by Tops that I here in the UK could legally carry. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to have that. And honestly, the sheath was a massive selling point for me, because I thought it's a pretty beautiful looking sheath, and it's interesting. One thing that confuses me is why do they do this? Why do they mix the sort of really modern tactical materials with the really traditional old style materials? I've always found that strange. Why do knife companies do that? By the way, under there where it says Tac-Raze, I assume that's a steel. Could be wrong. Please don't get angry at me. I honestly don't know. This is made in the USA. That's definitely a good thing. That's a thumbs up. But it certainly is a fun knife to have around. I mean, I had to take it out and play about with it. Oh, I forgot to say, if you haven't already noticed, it's got Allen screw construction, so you could easily take it apart. I've personally not done that, and I have absolutely zero intentions of doing so. So I suppose that pretty much concludes this video. I've got nothing more to say about this knife. It's a good knife, but I think it's a bit expensive for what it is. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.